Hello, everyone, and you're probably wondering, why are you talking to a beaver right now? Well, it happened in the depths of Alaska. I was off in Bristol Bay. I was working in a fishery, and to break the ice, I told my peers, I was like, hey, I can fit in there, as I pointed over into the vending machine at the local bar. And my peers were like, what, like a beaver's tail? And the rest is history. But, anyways, I'm not here to tell you about that today. I'm here to tell you about academia and my journey, and I hope that it helps you. So, in the beginning, I started at a private art school, and I was like, yes, I'm going to be this great artist or something. Years later, well, it's not that simple. I'll say that. But I always aspired to get my bachelor's, and well, it's been a difficult road. So, for me personally, in the beginning, I graduated high school early. And then I took a couple classes at the local community college before attending a private art school. But from there, I had to drop out because of life situations. But years later, after struggling, I ended up becoming a beaver trucker and explored the 49 states. Could explore the 50th state because I couldn't drive to Hawaii. Anywho, I finally figured it out, and I hope this helps you. And albeit a lot of this has changed since I went through these programs. So, the first degree I finally got was a Board of Governors Associate of Applied Sciences. I apologize about that. Board of Governors degree with the concentration or an emphasis on informational systems because I had a lot of IT credits transferring. This was over at Pierpoint Community College out in West Virginia, I believe, but at pierpoint.edu. At the time, you could transfer in all of your credits, and as long as you had one solid regional credit, you could get your associates. Pretty awesome. I was so excited when I got this degree, and I just love it. It's a What degree do you got? I got a Board of Governors degree. Sounds fancy. So, unfortunately, because of my dropout many years earlier, my GPA at this school is only about a 2.8 or a 2.85, but somewhere in there. Very disappointing because me personally, I've always been a 3.0 plus student with an average of an honors 3.3 weighted. Well, what to do from here? And how did I even get these credits? Because I got about 6 from the community college and about 21 from the private art school. That doesn't even add up to an associate's degree. And at Pierpoint at the time, I was able to transfer it all in. They do have a residency now. Well, there are a lot of alternative ways to get your degrees. First of all, you can go you can get AceNet degrees, acenet.edu. And these show you a whole bunch of alternative degrees. Um, there's so many programs out there that where, well, you can get your like credits, not degrees. Coursera.com. If you even just Google Coursera AceNet credits or something like Coursera college credits, they're within like the first 3 listings on Google. There is a link that shows you, hey, these will give you college credit. Mind you, not all schools will give you credit for these. So I did as many as I could, and I got I want to say about somewhere between 4 and 6 of the Google ones and a couple of the other ones. So I have a Google IT. I wanted to say project management. I got the project management one. I got the data analysis one, and a couple others. The IT support and at least one more, and I think even 2 more by now. But when you go there, do those credits. It's good learning. It helps get you some skills to get the job, but these also transfer in for college credit depending on the school, if they take them or not. Also, sophia.org. I got nearly all of these credits, and the labs were pretty fun. I love chemistry, I suppose. Anyways, so you do all of these. You do all these alternative credits. Sophia.org. I had to do a few at study.com. I did about 7 classes there. And I transferred all of these in. And then my next degree was at Excelsior University, excelsior.edu. And, well, at the time, and it's been changing lately, they had 117 transfer credit limit. And I maxed it out, transferred everything in. Thus, I only had to take 3 classes or 2.5 classes credit wise, like 2.333. My first class was informational literacy, I believe. It's a 1 credit class. Just how to use a library, get your APA up, etc. And then I had to do a cornerstone class, which built up into my capstone class. And my capstone was a lot longer than the first 2. I was like, woof. It's been, in a way, at the time, it's been a while. So it helped get my gears rolling again. And with the way this class was structured, I got a 4.0, but it was only based on 4 classes, mind you. Next up, well, to rewind for a minute, I already was chugging along at University of the People, uopeople.edu, a nationally accredited free tuition school. Great school. They're now regionally accredited. I was attending there a couple years prior to finding the groove with Pierpoint and Excelsior. But it was nationally accredited, and not everyone would take these degrees. So I kind of put that on the back burner, but I was chugging along with it because I needed. I'm an art kind of guy, and I'm a tech kind of guy, so I needed to chug along and get a bachelor's of computer science, and that was my route for that. I looked into that over at Excelsior, but then we're getting into those high-paying degrees, and well, suffice to say, I really don't have the money for that, or I don't want to go into debt for that. So in the background, I am doing a little bit of University of the People at the same time. My next degree was over at University of Maine at Presque Isle. Because of my AAS at Pierpoint, I was able to get an Associates of Applied Science because of my Associate of Applied Science at Pierpoint, I was able to transfer that in and get a Bachelor of Applied Science. And my goal here was to max out my minors. In forums and such, I saw a lot of people with 2 or 3 minors. I ended up going for 4 minors, maxing it out. When I transferred in, I had a pretty high number of transfer credits, somewhere in the 200s. And to this day, I have over 300. We'll get back to that. So, through all these schools and alternative credits, I transferred everything in that I could to max it all out. I really wanted a minor in art just to help me in that area, but I couldn't get that. I was 1 credit short, and I didn't want to search for that for a year or 2, or even... Anyways, so I ended up getting a Bachelor of Applied Science, and my 4 minors were Management of Informational Systems, Business Administration, Management, and Project Management. It's a great degree. And it was a fun degree too. I even managed to slip in a graphic design course and built a whole website with projects over there too. So, let me touch base on something. You may or may not have already used it, but there is a tax deduction that basically made my Excelsior degree for free. Pierpoint is technically a free degree, but you got to pay for some like transfer and transcripts, but it's dirt cheap. It's near free. And they've been upping the residencies, so both of those may not be viable for you today. But University of Maine still is. So, I graduated, I got like a 3.9 and some change. And then I had to take a break because I had to get all these conferred. and, well, just worked on my personal projects. And then the time came around where things started to get conferred, and I was able to move on to the next level. In the meantime, I did get my bachelor's of computer science at University of the People. During the very last term, it was nationally accredited, and now it's regionally accredited. So if I just waited one more term, that would have been regionally as well. So next up, we have WGU, my Master's of Business Administration in IT Management. It's basically an MBA with like two classes that are more directed towards IT, such as project management and I forgot the name of it, but basically IT solutions. This degree was about 50-50 between proctored exams and uh, written assignments or projects. For the project management class, I had to use an open source, basically my Microsoft Project app. It was a very slow on my computer, but it was actually a lot of fun planning it out, running the numbers, and all that. I've always been good at algebra and start to get lost beyond trigonometry. Uh, and I was not a fan of the statistics classes or the financial management classes. However, I got it done in about 69 days, the MBA in IT management at WGU. And, well, so happy about that. After I did that one, I moved back to University of Maine at Presque Isle, and I did a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership. And this was about another 9 classes to finish up that master's. I transferred in 3 classes from my bachelor's. I planned it out way ahead of time so that those will transfer in, and that helps shorten my length for the MOL, MAOL. So, I also forgot to mention when I was doing my bachelor's of applied science at University of Maine, I double stacked and I got an associate's of arts in liberal studies with a concentration in business. Basically double dipping, but I made sure all my residency and credits were in a line so I can max them out um, the ROI for it all. May not be used because I have higher degrees now, but let me do a run through of all of this. Excelsior was basically free. It cost about $3,000, give or take. It had a 20% discount for using Sophia.org, and I got a tax credit. You could use this tax credit anywhere, but I used a tax credit basically on this one to where it was nearly free, which was awesome. PeerPoint at the time for me, although it's not viable anymore, was about, I would say, $100 less than. University of Maine was about 1,500. I crammed it all in, planned it out ahead of time. My MBA was my most expensive degree. That was about $4,000, give or take. A little higher than that. And then I came back for my Master of Art in Organizational Leadership, which is just shy of $2,000. Crammed it all in a term. So this has been my academic journey. I started at Pierpoint. Actually, I started way back at community college, transferred into private art school, had a life event, had to drop out, and I was like, oh, what do I do from here? Life goes on, worked hard in industries I wasn't the biggest fan of. And then finally, I kind of started putting the pieces together, and I got my associates at Pierpoint. I got my first bachelor's at Excelsior. I got my second bachelor's at University of Maine, and then I got my third bachelor's over at University of the People. I got my first master's from technically University of the People based on when everything got conferred. My second master's was my MBA at Western Governors University. And now I'm going to touch base with you again in 1 to 2 years about my doctorate of business administration, specializing in or in information technology over at South University. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. Thank you for listening.